Hey, this is Gabe Abelson, and you're watching the Letterman Podcast.
La, la, la. I don't have a picture of Shecky to look at. All right, this thing is already off the rails. Welcome once again to the Letterman Podcast. My name is Marc Chisholm. Okay, so we're shooting an intro for this episode. So this episode is going to be part 3 of the trip to California, including my breakfast with Morty, my encounter with the Comedy Store, that with a series of events that happened that I could never in a million years have predicted, but have, a cool story about going to the Comedy Store after my breakfast with Morty, hanging out with Marc Karzen, and then seeing Letterman for the second time, this time with Tim Robinson from I Think You Should Leave on stage, and going to see that show with Donick Cary. Day 3 was a packed day. Why am I shooting this intro on a telephone? Well, we've had some technical difficulties going on at the home office of the Letterman Podcast. Someone kicked the plug out, as I like to say, because that's what Johnny Carson, people used to say to Johnny Carson when there'd be a technical difficulty, someone kicked the plug out and Johnny would be satisfied by that. That's what's happened. And so as we try and outfit new electrical equipment for the studio of the Letterman Podcast, you're getting an intro and an outro on my telephone. That's what's happening. And what's surrounding me? Well, this is the first jacket from CBS, the CBS era, 1993, Ebbets Field. I've actually traded. I've wanted to have some people who made the jackets on the show, and I've actually talked to through YouTube comments actually somebody from Ebbets Field, but I haven't actually had a chance to have that. Apparently, they worked there for 20 years, and all during when Letterman's jackets were made by Ebbets Field. And then we've got the very last one. This is the Thank You and Goodnight jacket. By that time, they had switched to Golden Bear. That was the jacket outfitter. This one still got the tags on it. This was the very last jacket that was given out at the last show. And there's the Worldwide Pants logo, 1993 to 2015. This one here has 1993 on it, the Ed Sullivan Theatre one. So pretty cool stuff. Thought it'd be a good backdrop here for this episode. The Letterman Podcast has one sponsor only, and that is Rupert G., who operates out of hello-deli.com. Go to hello-deli.com for all of your Late Show with David Letterman apparel and merchandise needs. Well, not all of them, but the ones that he has. If you need them, go get them there. Buy gifts for people. So this is day 3 of our California trip. Got some good stuff coming up for the Letterman Podcast. Got some really good stuff. Trading some emails on the very device that I'm shooting this intro on with some very cool people. But this is a fun episode. Lots of good stuff. And of course, it's the delightful Candace Chisholm. She makes the show much more beautiful and frankly more tolerable having her on there. So for those who are watching on the YouTube, enjoy the visuals. For those listening on the audio incarnations of the show, enjoy her amazing voice. The Letterman Podcast, proud to present day 3 of our trip to California. That's the end of day 2.
That's crazy, and we're like an hour and a half in.
Yeah, so this is going to be multiple episodes.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be multiple episodes, which is great.
So Wednesday,
more craziness. Like you think Tuesday's crazy, and it was.
Wednesday
but
you went.
Wednesday
for
was. Wednesday. I don't even think Wednesday morning. I'd say Wednesday was the culmination of the whole thing, but I mean, every day had its special stuff to it. But Wednesday morning, I had an experience that I'll never forget, and it was it truly goes right to my heart. Wednesday morning. So okay, if this is a new episode, Wednesday morning, Letterman Podcast takes Hollywood.
I feel like I should be changing shirts.
You like your Paris shirt though, don't you? We were just in Paris not too long ago.
True.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't go down.
That's why we didn't go to, yes. If Paris would have turned out a little differently, you would have been in LA.
True.
But that's okay.
It's another podcast.
That's another podcast. We'll talk about that later. We actually will. But Wednesday, so day 3 of the Letterman Podcast in Hollywood was it was an amazing day, and it started in an amazing way. There's a diner in Beverly Hills. It's called Nate and Al's, and it has been a showbiz diner forever. And there was a period where it closed, but then they brought it back, and there have been meetings of epic proportions
in show business, and of the smallest proportions. It's a beautiful little diner. And I guess, I don't know how many tables, maybe 50 tables, maybe a little less than that. But anyways, it's in Beverly Hills, a block off Rodeo Drive. And Robert Morton and I went for breakfast. And I thought it was going to be an hour, and it was like 2.5 hours. And it was so easy and so fun. And again, I'm not divulging anything really that we talked about. But I really, really enjoy having a friendship with Robert Morton. It's so easy to talk to him, and it's so easy to get advice from him. And it's the one thing, there's many things I love about Morty. Morty doesn't pull any punches. He tells it like it is. And I love that about him. And we had a really, really nice breakfast together. And I was late for it because traffic was awful. I was 15 minutes late, and he said I was about to leave. And
oh, really?
well, he was joshing me. He knew that that's probably what it was.
You underestimated traffic a lot, I think, on this trip.
Just that one was the worst one. The next day, I was early because of that. Like being late for Morty was sucked, and I'm not normally that guy. Like I'm but we had a really, really awesome breakfast. He gave me something as well. Now we're still trying to figure out the significance of the ticket, and I'm going to cover up who it was for. But this is a real Late Show with David Letterman ticket, unpunched, and it was from the first year. But it was November 3rd, 93. And he gave this to somebody, and I'm going to cover up the name as to who he gave it to, because he got fired and he never got a chance to give it to them, which is, it was a funny story, the way that he told it to me and whatnot. But he brought me a present, and I just appreciate that very, very much about Morty. So thank you for that, Morty. And
everybody's screenshotting that right now, trying to find out.
I'm actually going to probably contact them and see if they'll come on the show. If they'll come on the show, I'll send them the ticket.
Oh,
well, be kind of fun, right? Be a neat little moment. But these serendipitous moments that happened to me, and Wednesday was full of them. The first one happened during this breakfast. So while we're going back and forth and just shooting the bull about stuff, out of the corner of our eye, there's two men that are walking by, and they come to the table. And one of them is Dave's producer.
Said producer that you saw, or that
same producer from the Monday night.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, what are you doing here? Like, and he was there for a business meeting, and doesn't matter who he's with or any of that sort of stuff. He was there, but he came over, and watching him and Morty like greet each other and shake hands. Like, I didn't take my camera to take a picture, even though I desperately wanted to, because of the historical significance of it. I actually was there during Shecky's memorial where Morty met Mary Barkley. Like, I watched them meet each other. I was right there when they met for the first time, which is weird to me. Now, Dave's producer and Morty, they actually do lunch every once in a while. And I had known that. They had both kind of told me that before. And I had once made a joke saying, oh, I'd love to have you both on the podcast. And I would. Like these are two of the guys who have produced.
Like, you want to have them on the podcast together?
Oh, are you kidding me? I would do that in a second. That'd be amazing. The past and the present talking to each other, and just, oh, that would be a fascinating conversation.
Would they do it?
No, God, no. I don't even know if Morty will ever come back on here. He might. Like, you know what? There's a project coming up, which we'll get to when it comes to Thursday, that Morty will definitely be a part of. And through that, I'll probably end up having some conversations with Robert Morton for public consumption. But just seeing those two guys shake hands, I was just like, I can't believe I'm seeing this. Like, wow, I'm supposed to host this show. Like, I'm supposed to see that stuff if I'm hosting this show. Like it was like the universe confirming, because it was completely out of the blue.
Right.
And after he left, they said goodbye and all that, and they left. I said to Morty, and 3 times I asked him, you set that up. Like, you knew they were coming here and you set this up with me to mess with me. Like, I swear, Mike, I did. Like,
he's like, don't give me that much credit.
Yeah, well, but I don't know. It still trips me out. it still absolutely trips me out. But afterwards I walked into the car park and gave each other a big hug, and it was like, I told her I love him. I love Robert Morton. I love him. And it's funny, like, talking to folks on the show, like, very, very, very few people have a crossword to say about Robert Morton. Like, almost everybody says, I love Morty. And I mean, I certainly see why. And oh man, was it fun. And we talked about, like, family, like his girls. Oh, he's so proud of his girls. And one of them's graduating Stanford, I think it's Stanford this year. And his other one's just going into university, and he's just so proud. And it was so cool talking to him about this stuff. So
then Wednesday afternoon.
well, yeah. So then I walked around Beverly Hills for a little while.
Oh, that's right. You called me because you're on Rodeo Drive.
I was on Rodeo Drive and I called you. Yeah, I was
Mistake.
kind of, that's right. The Regent Beverly Wilshire was down there.
Which is funny because I actually watched Pretty Woman
while I was gone?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of wild. Actually, I think I might have watched it Tuesday.
We can recite a lot of that movie. Candy and I
Yeah.
love Pretty Woman.
Love it.
Always have.
These are broken. Mine are broken. I'll do it through the whole podcast.
Yeah,
You're
you like
welcome.
Kit.
I do.
I like Kit too. She was on Just Shoot Me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so I'm walking around Beverly Hills and Rodeo Drive and all that. I found a Bronco that looks very much like Scout, because Scout looks like an old, she looks like a retro Bronco. Well, then on just off Rodeo Drive, there's this Bronco that looks, it's striking it, but it's like a 75 Bronco or something like that. Almost the same color though, almost the exact same color. So I'm taking pictures of it, and suddenly this gal walks out and she's like, hi. I'm like, I'm sorry, I hope this is okay. And I'm like, please. And I show her a picture of Scout, and she starts laughing, and and she's like, oh, that's so cool. And her name's Morgan. Hi, Morgan. She had just gotten it done, and was tickled pink that I was so tickled with her Bronco. So hi, Morgan, nice to see you.
Is she a fan of the show?
No, she has no idea. She probably knows who David Letterman is.
Well,
but
yeah.
anyway, I don't know.
I was saying hi to her, so I was just curious if she was watching.
Oh, I did. I think I did tell her I'm the host of the Letterman podcast. Yeah, I did, because I said to her, I said, look, I host the Letterman podcast. Can I put this in the show? And she said yes. So I did get a confirmation from Morgan that it can go in the show, and I'll throw the pictures up while we do this. So anyway, I had at that point there set up my breakfast for the next morning. And we'll get to that on, Thursday, but we're still on Wednesday right now. And I thought, okay, so I'm going to see Marc Karzen tonight. Marc Karzen, of course, Late Night Bumpers, the photographer for Late Night with David Letterman forever. How you doing? You okay?
Yeah. It's a long time for me to sit.
We're doing it in one shot, everybody, but it's going to be released in 2 or 3 shots.
Bummer.
But Candy's trooping it out. She's a trooper.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, baby.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So anyway, figured out what my breakfast was the next day, and I knew I wanted to go to the Comedy Store, and I wanted to go to the Comedy Store because I wanted to take just some pictures for B-roll. I wanted to get pictures of the signatures on the building. Of course, Dave got his start at the Comedy Store legendarily. Watch the Comedy Store documentary, the 5-part Comedy Store documentary. So, and I wanted a picture of Scout in front of the Comedy Store. And so it was going to be a quick shot. I was going to go back to the hotel, then go see Marc Karzen, and then go see Letterman. That was my plan. Boy, did that plan get elongated, because I get to the Comedy Store and I start taking some pictures on the outside of the building. And then I go and I see on the window, there's somebody in the window there. And I'm like, hey, can I come and take some pictures inside? And he's like, I don't really understand what you're saying here. Come around here. And he goes over and he opens the entrance to the Comedy Store for me. And I'm like, hey, how's it going? My name's Mike. I'm the host of the Letterman Podcast. I was hoping I'd get some pictures maybe. He goes, oh, Dave's picture is right over here. Yeah, absolutely you can. And then this other gal comes out, and she's a comic from Texas. And it's host of the Letterman Podcast. That was the thing. I'll tell you this. You know how in our life people will say, oh, so like, what do you like? Not what do you do? Because most people know what I do, but being in the financial stuff I do, but we'll start shooting the bull, and then inevitably it'll come up that I host the Letterman Podcast, right?
Yeah.
Most people's reaction are like cool or neat, or they ask
For you,
questions
how
about
did you
it.
get started doing that?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's weird.
Yeah.
Get that a lot.
Down there, it was like, really? Like people were like, holy cow, like thinking the Letterman podcast is bigger than it is, or I don't know what their interpretation of it is, but I got a lot more street cred, I guess you'd call it, reactions or whatever. But comics though, oh my God, because I saw so many comics. I mean, the Netflix is a Joke comedy festival's down there and all that. And I'm at the Comedy Store, there's a bunch of comics. And they're like, you host the Letterman podcast. Whoa. And they, start talking, they sharing Letterman memories and all that sort of stuff. And this guy named Tim comes over. And they're like, yo, you're going to meet Tim. We're about to do a meditation class. And I'm like, what? And he goes, yeah, Tim over here and his partner Zoe. And the name Zoe is one that is like, it's not super common. And I look and I'm like, you're not talking about Zoe Friedman, are you? And they're like, yeah, we're talking about Zoe Friedman. And now Zoe Friedman, obviously, legend, Bud Freeman's daughter. She used to book Letterman and many, like, I mean, I'm burying the lead. Zoe's coming on the show, by the way, everybody. Hung out with Zoe at this meditation, meditated beside Zoe for an hour. Like it was like, what? Zoe's here? Yeah, you got to come meet her. I'm like, all right. And so we're exchanging Letterman stories. I'm taking pictures in the Comedy Store. I took video and all those sorts of things. And then there's Zoe Friedman. I'm like, hi, this is Mike Chisholm. I host the Letterman podcast. Oh, hey, nice to meet you. Like, super excited to meet me and surprised that the show existed. And I'm like, hey, I want to show you some messages that I reached out to you because I've reached out to Zoe a lot to be on the show. She's like high on the list of people I would love to have on the show. Oh, I never use that account anymore. I'm like, all right, well, here's my current email. Thank you, Zoe. I appreciate that. That's amazing. So we're going to have Zoe Friedman on the show. Very, very, very excited. And Tim, the guy who led the meditation class. So they're putting this meditation class on for the Netflix is a Joke Comedy Festival.
I love that they're doing that.
For the stand-ups.
That's awesome.
Because they want to promote mental health. They start talking about positive mental health immediately. And I'm just like, holy cow. So I'm shooting an episode with HeCast with Tim on awesome. Thursday.
Yeah.
So just so you know, like Tim's got this amazing story. He was in the Rat Race of Hollywood, had a whole bunch of things produced, creator, all these things. And then full stop and became a meditation facilitator.
Right on. Because
the Rat Race and all the things that, it was the most amazing story. And then we had this amazing, there's like 15, 20 of us in there. And we all had this, he led us through this amazing meditation, which is exactly what I needed in the middle of this trip, by the way.
Yeah, that couldn't have happened at a better time.
It could not have. Like literally sandwiched between Morty and Marc Karzen, then going to see Letterman again with Donick Cary, which I'll get to in a minute because Donick came with me. I had this amazing meditation in the main room of the Comedy Store. And I've got videos of me in the main room of the Comedy Store. Okay, so this is really odd. I'm alone in the Comedy Store right now. Like literally, I'm in the original room. Letterman's sign is just back there behind me. And this trip has been blessed with serendipity. I'm extremely grateful and excited. I literally had breakfast with Morty this morning and walked around Beverly Hills, and then I, as a lark, went to the Comedy Store and I stumbled upon a meditation class and came in here, and I met Zoe Friedman, who is the helms person of one of the helms people of Comedy Gives Back. And Comedy Gives Back, because the Netflix is a Joke Festival, having a meditation class here in the original room of the Comedy Store. And they're like, come on in. And Zoe's going to come on the show, which is great. For those who don't know about Zoe Friedman and her history, I mean, Bud Freeman's daughter, number one, but there's a huge history with her as a booker for the Letterman show. And then Eddie Brill took over for her either right after or shortly after. But anyway, so that was really cool, hanging out with her and these amazing folks who want to incorporate mindfulness into the world of stand-up comedy. And I just appreciate that very, very much, because there's a lot of comics out there who probably it would help to add that to what it is that they do. So an amazing experience. And then everyone left. And now I'm in the original room of the Comedy Store alone. And it's really weird and it's really cool.
and I'm extremely grateful. More from the Letterman Podcast goes to Hollywood.
Of the Comedy Store, they turned on the lights for me after the meditation. Everyone was like so happy and hugs and all these things, and I got everybody, a bunch of people's contact info and all this sort of stuff. But then the guy from the Comedy Store that was there, and he turned on the lights all around the room. So I'm taking pictures of Letterman. I'm messaging Jeff Altman because Jeff Altman was there, and he's got a picture he's got his name in the main room still. And it's beside like Arsenio Hall and Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan's right beside Altman. So I'm messaging Altman, hey, look at this. And he's like, we're going back and forth. And then everyone was gone. And suddenly I am in the main room of the Comedy Store alone. So I go on stage and I shoot a video and I look and I'm watching this empty room from the main stage of the Comedy Store, completely unplanned. And I'm looking around and I'm literally on the spot where Dave heckled Ringo Starr. Ringo Starr was heckling him. And so Dave just tore him apart, not knowing it was Ringo Starr up there. Where so many people took their shot for Jim McCauley in the audience and got booked on The Tonight Show. And I'm standing there and I'm in this room alone. And I'm like, how did I get here? It was the weirdest, coolest thing. And then I went down to the belly room and I took a lot more pictures and videos. So I'll throw those up here too. But
All right, there's the punishing sunlight. You come in here, and this is what you see. It's kind of a who's who.
Bye, guys. Later. Mike, good to see you, bud.
Good to see you too.
Yeah,
Thank you so much. I can't wait to connect.
Yeah, me too, bud. Later.
Unbelievable. Thanks, Richard. Absolutely. Here's the row right there. Look at these. Look at these folks. Oh. There's the boy right there. There's the belly room. How cool is this?
what a crazy, unexpected thing to happen in the middle of the trip. Did I tell you about any of that part of the?
No. You told me about the meditation.
I told you about the meditation. Okay. Oh yeah, because there's a couple of guys who come in on HeCast, and yeah, but yeah, it was an unbelievable experience. Unbelievable experience. And so next, are you ready for some more? Can we power through this? Are you all right?
Mm-hmm. Good.
Yeah. Thanks, babe.
I gotta go to bed in 15 minutes, but can you get 3 days done in 15?
Got 2 more days after this.
Oh.
Okay, so after this, all my time is gone. No back to the hotel for Mike. I'm going to Marc Karzen's place. And Marc Karzen, of course, photographer for Letterman and for NBC. But I mean, the Late Show bumpers, that was all Marc. Marc's been on the show a couple of times. Amazing, amazing guy. Just been developing a friendship with him. And he told me a story that is just, it knocked my socks off. It absolutely knocked my socks off. So I get to his place. We only have about an hour to hang out. And I get to his place and we go up into his studio and it's really cool. I took some pictures of some of his Letterman props that he has in the studio there. And he says, Mike, I need to tell you something. I'm like, all right. And he goes, okay, so the last time I was on the show, which is around Christmas time. So if you go back to December-ish, you'll see Marc's, maybe January, you'll see Marc's last appearance on this program. And he talked about Hunter S. Thompson in that episode. Hunter Thompson, there's a really cool picture that he had taken of Hunter and he was influenced by Hunter, especially for a time. There was a time where Marc, who's from Louisville, after he had his encounter with Hunter S. Thompson, he went to the Kentucky Derby that year. And this is 40 years ago. Okay. He went to the Kentucky Derby and he decided to shoot it. He's from Louisville and he decided to shoot the Kentucky Derby Gonzo style, the way that Hunter Thompson did stuff he decided to kind of take that persona and shoot the Kentucky Derby of that year. Okay. And so Marc's telling me this, and I'm just, this is great. This is great. And he goes, yeah, so I was just at the Kentucky Derby a few weeks ago. Again, this is 40 years later. And I shot it as well. And he was talking about some of the things, and he goes, I had met with them after I talked with you on your show. I went and started looking at the chronochromes. I forget what they're called. I don't know the name of it, but he started looking at like the negatives is the way that I see it. I started looking at some of the pictures that I took back then. It's like, oh, this is really, really cool. And I talked to the brass of the Kentucky Derby about this. Fast forward, he just signed a book deal.
That's
And
awesome.
he brings the book out and he shows me the book. He goes, I just made this book and I did this book deal and it was because of your show.
You're like, great, I'll take my royalties. No.
No royalties. That's what, see, and that's what I want this show to be. Like, I don't want people to get gigs from the show, but I never dreamed of that.
Sure.
But if it inspires creativity with some of these folks who worked for this production that we love so much over the years, and we can celebrate what they're doing now
Yeah.
and link back to it, like that to me is like the 100% reason. Like he said to me, like, and I know Marc's watching, like I'm not bragging or I'm not overblowing it. He said, I signed this book deal is because of the appearance on your show. I'm like, what? Oh, I was so happy. I'm so happy for him. I'm so happy for him. And he showed me the mock-ups of the book, which I'm not going to show here, but there is an article though, which I will show here, that I'm allowed to show. So I was just blown away. And then I showed him the picture of the jacket that Jay gave me the day before, and then the milk duds. And he was so happy when he saw the milk duds. So Jay, if you're watching this, I don't know, he was so happy when he saw the milk duds because it was such a nice little touch
That's cute.
because of the original book or the original bumper. And anyway, so that was a really beautiful moment. And then leaving, Marc's giving me all this advice, by the way. Marc thinks I should move to LA. Obviously. And I said, well, I got my wife, my granddaughter. And he goes, bring them along.
Yeah.
It was
Our
just
parents might have something
it
to say
was
about
so
that.
logical. He's given me a whole bunch of advice along the way here, which makes a lot of sense because he goes back to the Shecky days and I just love that. And the jacket has a connection with his crew as well, which maybe we'll talk about in a later episode. But I appreciate Marc Karzen beyond words. Morty told me to make sure I said hi to him, and it was really awesome to spend time with him. Leaving, Marc Karzen took a picture of me, and you've seen it, right?
No.
Did I show you the picture?
Oh,
I'll
yeah.
pop it up.
That I did see on your Facebook.
Okay, so because we are friends on Facebook,
We are.
Okay.
Now.
So Marc Karzen took a picture of me, and I'll cherish it forever because here's a guy who took so many pictures, and it was his idea. He's like, here, now hold on, stand over here, do this, and he like posed me, and he's like, hey, no, do this, come on, and he just is the consummate professional and artist and all of these amazing things, and I just appreciate Marc Karzen so much. Okay, so after Karzen is Letterman, and I almost didn't make it. I almost didn't make it to the show.
Okay, so because of traffic or like just because?
Yes, but something was going on. It turns out to be Jimmy Kimmel's fault.
Isn't it always?
Jimmy Kimmel, right? Okay, so I'm driving back and I'm just filled with all of this amazing stuff. And I know the show's at 7:30. I'm hoping to get back to the room to change, and I want to grab the cue card from Gabe because I'm thinking, oh, I want to get this thing signed by Dave. Gabe signed it. It'd be cool if Dave signed it. The guy who wrote it, the guy who performed it, that would be really, really neat. I messaged Dave's producer and saying, hey, I'm coming down with this thing tonight. I'm hoping to get it signed.
Did he say?
He didn't respond back. Now, it was a crazy day that day. This is the Tim Robinson day. It was a bit of a crazy day for them because Walter was doing a whole bunch of stuff. And I'll get to that in a second when we get to the monologue. But and the second ticket, which was going to be your ticket, ended up going to Donick Cary. Love Donick. Donick was on a few weeks ago. He and I got along famously, immediately, and it was just an honor to have him there with me. Now, I almost didn't get there on time though, because traffic was so bad, and it was so bad for 0.4 of a mile. Now, remember, my hotel was right behind the Dolby Theater. The Dolby Theater, of course, is on Hollywood Boulevard.
15-minute walk to the theater.
15-minute walk, but it took me almost 40 minutes to go 0.4 of a mile because I got to my hotel, or I got to the road my hotel's on. It's in a back street, but it was so clogged up. There were traffic cops out, and it was bedlam, and it was slow bedlam. And I finally got there, and it was 7:15. And the show starts at 7:30. I messaged Donick along the way. I'm like, hey man, I'm in traffic, but I'll get there. He's like, no, you're okay. You're good. Don't worry. No worries, Mike. I'm like, all right. So I did rush into the room real quick to get the cue card, and I'm bolting down Hollywood Boulevard, get to Vine, move over to get to the Montalbán Theatre. There's Donick outside. Oh, hey man, good to see you. I'm so sorry. And I was flustered. Like, I was so flustered. He asked me who was on Monday night. I couldn't remember. Who was it? And I'd written it down. So I went and said, oh yeah, Nate. I sent it to Irene, who it was. And I looked at the text and, oh yeah, Nate Bergazzi. Oh yeah, Nate Bergazzi. I love it. I don't know what Donick thought of me the first few minutes because I was so flustered. But it's like, okay, thank goodness I'm there. All this, I'm starting to calm down a little bit. We get to security, and they look and they're like, "Sir, no signs." I'm like, no. This isn't a sign. This is it's a cue card. I hope to get it signed. The producer knows that I'm bringing it. Sir, I'm sorry, no signs. And Donick's kind of looking at me, and I'm looking at him, and I'm like, I don't know what to do here. And I'm like, can you just call so?
Did Donick know that you had the cue card, that you were coming with the cue card?
No.
Oh.
No. And so he's like, my car is 2 blocks from here in a lot. We can go back. This is a security person. They called into somebody. And now I could have messaged Dave's producer, but I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that.
No.
Not 10 minutes of showtime. No way.
No.
But
Good call.
so Donick and I are like, I'm like, okay, can we put it back in your car? He goes, you got 3 things that we could do here. Number 1, you could go back to the hotel. That's too far. Number 2, you could ditch the cue card, which you're not going to do. Number 3, my car is 2 blocks away. We can go there. I'm like, all right. So we go, and on the way to his car, he's like, there's a bunch of bushes right here. He's like, or he goes, we could stash that cue card in there and see if it's still there when we get back. I'm like, that's a good idea. So Donick actually has a picture of me stashing the cue card in these bushes. So this cue card may not have come home, but we hid it. I thought it was hid well. And we went back, we went in to the Montalbán Theatre, and we sat down, and Tim Robbins.
Somebody was probably thinking it was just somebody's house.
Probably. That's right. That's right. So we go in and we sit down, and we're right up front, and it's phenomenal. It's Tim Robinson, and Tim Robinson, of course, I Think You Should Leave on Netflix. Unbelievable show, hysterical show. And we're excited about it. It's like, holy cow, here's Tim Robinson and David Letterman going to have a conversation with each other. This is going to be, on paper, this is going to be epic. Now, I got to be really careful how I describe this, because I don't, to this point, know how much of it was
Staged?
Well, staged is the wrong word. Okay. I'm going to say this. I'm going to precurse it by saying it was fantastic. I had an amazing time. Donick and I both did. There was lots of laughter. It was great. We loved it. So much so that afterwards we had to go to a record shop and kind of talk about it a little bit. But it might have been the most awkward conversation I've seen David Letterman have with somebody in a decade or more. It might even be the most awkward conversation I've seen David Letterman have with somebody since the show ended.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, like, not ever.
Since the
'cause, like,
Netflix
there's
era
Joaquin or
No. Yeah.
Farrah.
Okay,
or-
I would. Well, Farrah's a little different, but okay, Joaquin. Like, I would put it. I don't even know what category I'd put it in. Like, it was crazy because, like, okay, Tim came out and Dave was so prepared. Like, I mean, again, he had like 4 or 5 clips from the show, was ready to discuss them, was ready to discuss, like, okay, where did you come up with the idea for this clip from the show? Like, it was, because I Think You Should Leave is hysterical. And don't get me wrong, he talked about Saturday Night Live, because Tim Robinson was on Saturday Night Live as a cast member and was asked after the first season of him being a cast member to move and just become a writer, and the progression of that. But then he wrote for a few years and had a good experience there. Like, it was fine. But he was giving Dave one-word answers. And Dave was like, he was going all over the place. He asked him about, because Tim Robinson has some pretty severe claustrophobia. And so Dave was asking about that. And Tim was kind of going, well, yeah, I don't know. I guess I should see a doctor about that or something. Like, he was just, it was so
Awkward.
yeah. And there were times where like audience members were trying to kind of looking at each other a little bit because it was like, holy cow. Like, but then it was like, okay, is this
Shtick.
almost, but it wasn't. Like, I'm certain it wasn't. And it reminded me of late night. Like, it reminded me of an interview during late night where there were these sometimes almost awkward silences. Like, it was just, and I wish they recorded it. They didn't record any of them. It doesn't seem like, unless there was a camera in the back or something like that, and they were shooting from there. Like, it didn't look like they recorded it. And I'm like, I have seen one of the most amazing David Letterman moments ever in the modern era anyway. And it was spectacular. And don't get me wrong, like I said, it was entertaining. And by the end, like seeing clips of I Think You Should Leave and having Dave and Tim kind of even just say one or two words about it is hysterical. It's so funny, but it was odd. And I love odd. I love when there's odd Dave. And it was cool because like, you think, oh, Tim Robinson's just being aloof, but then no, Tim was like, Dave said to him, he goes, well, do you have any questions for me? And so Tim's like, yeah. And he asked him about Chris Elliott. And that was really cool. But then Dave was like, yeah. And for a time there, it was like Chris Elliott was the funniest man in America. He really was. Then he stopped. It was like, and he asked about Harmony Korman and when Harmony was on the show, and Dave, didn't really give him anything on that. And it was just.
So did you end up asking Walter about it at all?
I haven't talked to anybody. And it's funny because one of Dave's producer at breakfast, I said I didn't want to know who was on the show that night. I wanted it to be a surprise. And he goes, oh, message me afterwards and let me know what you think. And I still haven't done it.
What?
I've tried. I've started 3 emails to him. And all 3 of them, I'm still trying to articulate.
Well, then just say that.
Perhaps that might be the thing to do. Like you're other than a couple key people, Jed and I'll get to Jed on the last day, but I haven't really talked to anybody about it because I'm still trying to figure it out. Donick and I talked about it, obviously, and I don't want to say the things that Donick said just out of privacy and whatnot. Donick and I went to a record shop. Actually, I'm going to put some clips in here. We have some messages for Steve Young that we're going to put in the show here.
I love Steve Young.
I love Steve Young too. And we had some cool messages for him. We were searching for industrial musical albums while we were in this record shop. It was cool. But yeah. Okay, I am here right now. There's Donick. Steve, this is for you. Might go on the show too. I don't know. But anyway, we'll
see how it goes.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. We're at a record store and we're going to look at a bin that you might like. But Donick.
Steve, I think of you every time I come in here, and I come in here quite a bit when I see this sign, and I feel like if you're driving a giant van, this needs to be on your dashboard somehow.
So I very much want to see you driving a big van. All right, more to come. Okay, so we got Oddball.
So Steve, we're into Oddball. We're going to see if there's something here for you. The sound effects. These are some classics. Big boat sounds. That's pretty good. Here, I'll go this way.
Awesome. Do you have any industrial musicals?
Industrial musicals?
Yeah. This would be over here in the Oddball section? Okay.
Probably in here. This is pretty good. Bugle calls, but played by Al Hurt. They got a celebrity do the bugle calls. What do we got?
They got to do something to...
Sound effects, classics, environment. Steve, you've heard all of these. Taurus. I don't think I have Taurus, but we love... what's his name? The astrology songs guy. You remember him? See, you remember that guy?
That's
I am Taurus, the bully bull. We had him come and play at our fundraiser one year.
Really?
Yeah. This might be this is the world's funniest man. This seems like a Steve Young special.
Well, yeah.
Sounds of Sebring.
Wait a second. What's Sebring?
It looks like it's an engine, but what kind of engine?
Sounds of Sebring. Oh, it's the sounds of
Ferraris.
America's great sports car race. All right, it's more a Dave thing.
I've listened to a couple of. They're not that exciting. those cars racing albums. The sounds of great engines that work on the drag strip.
Oh, see, there you go.
The great.
That could have been on the show.
Yes. But what else we got?
Test records. I wonder what a test record is.
Boom.
Sound spectrum.
Ooh, Witchcraft.
Witchcraft.
With Ray Martin and his orchestra.
Commercial stereo checkout. Since the greatest advance in sound since high fidelity was invented.
Now, what we're not doing, Steve, is writing jokes for each of these. We're just looking through them.
Yeah, no, that's your job. That's your job. Stereo balance check. Oh, I see. So it's like, okay. Huh.
Yeah, that's to calibrate your stereo.
What's the name of this record shop?
This is called the Record Parlor.
The Record Parlor. Okay, Steve. And
They've got the section all mapped out.
and they have a Wolverine or some sort of woodland creature on the wall too, so you know. And a bear. And a bear? Where's the bear?
A non-guy in a bear suit.
Yeah. So the Record Parlor is where you got to go, buddy. I feel like we did some good today.
I think we've done some good.
Yeah, we have. Yeah, we were like, it took a few minutes to kind of talk about it. And I want to talk about with some other folks that were there. Daniel Carlson was there and a few others. I'd like to talk to him about it. And just because it was a unique moment, but it was amazing. And seeing Dave and Tim shake hands, and we'll put that picture in here, was an unbelievable.
Have you read anything about it?
I haven't read anything about it. I haven't wanted my opinions to be, I wanted to do this and I wanted to email,
The producer.
the producer and some other folks as well. I actually did have a back and forth with Walter today,
About this?
about this. Yeah. And, I said, I'm writing about it right now. And he goes, I can't wait to read it. Like, yeah, it's going to be interesting. I don't know how I'm going to write it out. So I may write it out before I read anybody else's opinions, if there are other opinions that are out there. But it was I'm so grateful I got a chance to see this, because Nate on Monday night was a textbook example of what Dave's been doing. A beautiful beginning, middle, and an end, a beautiful building of rapport, like a masterful building of rapport, and it going just smooth as silk, but being insightful, hilarious, emotional, all those things at the same time. This was not that. This was like, whoa.
Is he like a Tom Green character? Like, would that be
Well, Tim, yeah, like his sketch stuff is outrageous, but it's ridiculously clever. But it's outrageous. Like, you haven't seen, I think you've seen a couple of them, right? You've walked in on me watching them a couple of times and been like, what is that? Like strange and fun. Like, it's totally offbeat, right? But
so maybe he was just in character.
well, see, and that's what it is. That he's in character, or he's just really shy and aloof? Aloof is. I don't mean to sound disrespectful, because I'm not. I loved it. I thought it was really good. I'm just trying to articulate it properly, and I'm having a hard time doing it. Anyway,
I don't know. It sounds like to me like he was in character,
or
if not character, like maybe not character in the sense of he was playing something. Maybe it's his character.
Yeah.
Right? Like he's just that guy.
That could be that case. Yes. And if so, like they
didn't know, they've never met too, right? Like
that's a good question. And that's one of the questions I have. I want to ask the boys if they had or not, because he and Dave and Nate hadn't met, but I do want to ask the boys if that's the case with Tim or not. I'm not certain. I do know, though, that Tim was very sincere in his appreciation for Dave and all the things that Dave did throughout the years. Like, there's no question about that.
So reverence for Dave.
Absolutely.
But he wasn't being disrespectful.
Not even a little bit. Thank you. I want to be very, very clear about that. But it was odd. And it was
maybe he was nervous.
That could be as well. Like,
or maybe he was just in awe.
This is these are some of the things that we tossed around afterwards. Like it was, but I'm going to finish by talking about the monologue. Okay. So I'm glad we got the Tim stuff out of the way, because I didn't know how that was going to go. I'm going to finish by talking about the monologue. So when the first monologue, or the first precursor to when the guest came out on Monday night, was very simple. and it was great. It was awesome, and I showed a clip of that from Monday night because I smuggled a small recording of it in there. But this night was different. It opened up with Dave bringing himself out there, showing a clip of, this is why Walter was there now. I could see why Walter kind of put all this together on the fly. Showed a clip of Ricardo Montalbán on Letterman. And Ricardo Montalbán, of course, used to do, I believe it's Lincoln Continental commercials. And he talked about the rich Corinthian leather. And Dave, in the interview with Ricardo, was like, "What's rich Corinthian leather? Like, what is it? Is it a real thing? Is it a what?" And then Dave got everybody to start repeating rich Corinthian leather together. The whole audience was repeating rich Corinthian leather and talking about Ricardo Montalbán. That was really cool. Then they did a FaceTime call with Paul Schaefer on the big screen behind him, and that was cool. That was really cool. Paul sang a song, a small song. They did some shtick back and forth. It was really funny. Really good to have him there. And see him doing that. Then that call ended. Paul left, and Dave did some shtick about how he's been getting out and doing things in LA, and here I've been eating at some cool places, and there's a shot of him in his hotel room getting room service, and I've been seeing pools or something like that. There's a picture of the bathtub or the shower or something like that. So you could tell Walter helped do all that and put all that together. And was on the running the slide deck while Dave was doing his monologue, which is what a cool thing. But Walter had even messaged, because Donick and I were there, and obviously they're friends, and so I'm so sorry I couldn't get out and see you guys. It was like busy right up to the last moment, and it was really cool to see the contrast between the two nights between.
Now I'm curious what Sarah
Silverman. Yeah, that would have been a lot of fun, but. Chris Harris had me that night.
No, I know.
No, that would have been a blast.
Yeah.
I adore Sarah Silverman.
Yeah, me too.
So anyway, that was Wednesday. And well, we're gonna end this right here for sure.
Yeah.
And then
halfway through.
We're halfway through Thursday and Friday.
It feels like
we're big days too.
Trip like that lasted far longer. And you pack a lot of punch into your vacays.
I'm so grateful for all the things. Like, I mean, I couldn't have
I'm
predicted
exhausted
so
and
much of it.
Didn't go.
Oh yeah. And I'm ready to go back. Like, it powered me up. It just got me so much more excited.
I love that.
Okay, so we're going to stop here. And we'll move on to Thursday and then Friday to be continued. So,
okay, we're going to end it right there. Yeah. So crazy day. That was a crazy day. And, I can't wait to go through day 4. Day 4 is not as much Letterman stuff, a little bit of Letterman stuff on the last day of the trip, but lots of Jay Ryan stuff. And we go through Newcomb's and what he's doing for the place and whatnot. And we're just very, very excited about that. This has been another episode of the Letterman Podcast with Mike Chisholm. Coincidentally, I am Mike Chisholm. Thank you and good night.
Overcoat and underpants.